Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm gonna give you a little introduction about Sqlc. So it's a new package to help you working with SQL. It's pretty nice. I'm gonna show you that. Plus I'm gonna just show you how you can install that to Fiber. So this is the library I've shown you in some of the past video. So Sqlc, it's a way for you to finally, you're gonna write your SQL query and they're gonna do the SQL code you will have done by yourself if you will have done it with the standard library. It's pretty nice, really good, work really well. And I've started using it like maybe 3 weeks ago. And I'm gonna just show you how you can use it and doing some stuff with that. So for this video, I'm gonna just use this YouTube Go Fiber introduction video I've give you 17 days ago. And you're gonna just need to clone this code. So after it's cloned, for me, I decide just to delete the Git and restart. But after that, the only thing you're gonna need to do is install your dependency. You can do go mod tidy or go mod install, whatever you want to go. And after that, when it's done, you can open that inside your text editor of choice. In my case, I'm using Golang, and you're gonna see it's like you just have like just one package, so it's pretty simple. And we're gonna also need Postman, and we're gonna need also another tool called Go Migrate. So we're gonna start with that. So in the video, we've done a plain to-do list application where we are able to, if we look at the route, get the to-dos, create the to-dos, get a to-do, delete the to-do, and update the to-do. So finally the CRUD. So now we would like that to not be in memory, but doing this from a database perspective. So for that, all we're gonna start is by working first with the migration. So the way this Go Migrate work, it's we're gonna make use of the CLI. So if you go to Go Migrate and you make use of the CLI, you can install that by doing brew install go and migrate. I've already done that. You should do this, but if you have already, you don't need. So Windows or whatever, you can just follow that. And for that, also what we're gonna do for helping us, it's we're gonna create a file and make a file finally. And what is a make file? It's gonna let you use your command you're gonna create there. So for those examples who like me come from Node.js and stuff like that, we do a lot of the script from the package JSON and stuff like that. But now with Makefile, you can kind of do the same thing, but with that. And what I like about this Makefile, it's really easy to do like something like make migrate and stuff like that. And this is what we're gonna do. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a command called migration. So we need to create migration. And this command is going to be about creating a migration to our database. But before that, you should create a database. And for this tutorial, I'm going to use Postgres. You can use MySQL, whatever, but I'm going to use Postgres. Plus, Sqlc work much better with Postgres. I know they have started to add some MySQL thing. You see in version 1.5, they add MySQL engine, but you should go with Postgres. So this is something I forget to say. You want to use Sqlc if you use Postgres, and MySQL just start to get some love from them. So for the migration, here what I'm gonna type, you can read that online and all that's gonna work. But the first thing, I'm gonna just create a DB. So we're gonna just say Fiber to-dos dev, something like that. Okay. So here that's gonna create a DB. Fiber to-dos dev, and if I open that with Postico, so if I go to localhost and I go to Fiber to-dos dev, you see I have nothing. So for the migration, the way that's gonna work, I'm gonna just use read. So read here, I'm gonna let the finally I'm gonna prompt the user enter a migration name. This name here. I'm going to be able to prompt that to the user. The user going to be able to, after that, input some value, and we're going to use this value to do some stuff. And we're going to call this variable name. After that, if you want to create a new line, you put this, I have no idea what is the name in English, but that's backslash maybe. And after that, here I'm going to use migrate, create. So migrate is going to be the Golang migrate. So you see, after you install Golang migrate, you can do whatever you have from here. So Golang migrate, create, extension Sql. And now here I need to say which directory. I'm going to call this directory Postgres. And I'm going to put that inside a folder called migration. And I want to use the name like that. So the variable name. So now I can run this command by doing make migration. So for those who came from like Ruby on Rails, Laravel, Django, whatever, I don't think Django, but like Laravel and stuff like that, you can create a migration and put your name like that. So this is what I'm going to do from here. And now I'm going to say maybe like create to-dos table. And now that's going to create the file for us. And now you see, for already they've created a folder Postgres with a migration with to-dos up, to-dos down. Perfect. Now here I'm going to just configure, don't know why. Okay, configure my data source. It's just because I used Golang, so I'm going to just use Postgres. And I'm going to connect to my database. My user is Postgres. My username is password is Postgres, and my database is fiber to-dos dev. I'm going to test the connection. When it's done, perfect. I'm going to apply and OK. Perfect. For the down, I'm going to say drop table if exists to-dos. So that's going to be the name we're going to create the table. Here, I'm going to create the table if not exists to-dos. And now here, I'm going to say the value I want to put. So for the ID, that's going to be a big serial, and that's going to be a primary key, so that they're going to, with big serial, they're going to auto-increment it for us. And if we look back to the main.go, we just add name and complete. So if we go back to the up, name, we're going to say it's going to be a text. And we don't want that to be null. And completed is going to be of type of Boolean. And by default, it's going to be false. Like that. Now I'm going to go back to my make file, and I'm going to create here another command called migrate. Migrate is going to be almost the same exact stuff, but now we don't going to create, but we're going to just migrate up the migration. So migrate, we need to say which source. And now I'm going to say file / Postgres / migration. So this is the folder we want to get the element. I'm going to create another line just to make it cleaner. And I'm going to say the database, it's equal to Postgres / Postgres. It's that for me. So it's Postgres locally, Postgres my username, Postgres my password. After that 127.1.0.0.1 to be localhost, the port 5432, and the database name it's fiber to-dos dev, and we want the SSL mode to be disabled, and we're gonna call up. So up it's the command to migrate. And just because we are there, I'm going to already show you how you can roll back. So if you want to roll back just one, you just need to call down finally. And another one you can do also, I like to do, it's when I do dev, I drop my DB a lot of the time so I can restart from scratch, and you just need to call drop. Perfect. After that, what I'm gonna do It's here I'm gonna create a Sqlc command, and we're gonna do this after that. And here just because it's a typo, but we don't care. Perfect. So now we have our DB and stuff like that. So now I can migrate by doing migrate, who's gonna call this thing. Now you see create table, to-dos table. Perfect. And now I'm connected to this database. So you're gonna see if I go to the schema table, I have my to-dos right there. And I'm gonna just show you that in Postico for those who don't want to buy Golang. It's like that, ID. And if you look at the structure, we have here a big int because that was a big serial. We have a text for the name and Boolean who default to be false. Perfect. So we're gonna create some to do for now. Walk the dog. Perfect. And I'm gonna do another one here. I don't know, like buy shoes. I don't know. I'm really bad in that. So perfect. So now we're gonna have two. That's gonna be easier for us in after that. So how do we install Sqlc? It's pretty simple. You can install that with GoGet, Mac, with Homebrew and everything. So you should just follow this installation package, not package, but stuff. And for me, I did that with Brew. So you should do that or GoGet, whatever the way you want to deal with that. And after that, what you want to do, is go back to the setting and copy this stuff. After that, you need to create with Sqlc in it. This thing's gonna create a Sqlc YAML file. Now from there, you can add those package right there. So I'm gonna delete that and I'm gonna put this thing. Here you need to put in which package that's gonna go. So for our case, that's gonna go to Postgres. For the path, that's gonna be Postgres. The query is going to be inside a Postgres query folder, and for the schema, that's going to be the migration. Finally, the migration folder. So migrations, perfect. After that, the engine keep it as Postgres. Emit JSON tag for our case, we're gonna say we can say that for true for now. All the other stuff you can keep it as default. And now after that, what you need to do is go to Postgres, and now right there you're gonna be able to create a folder called query. And inside this folder called query, you're gonna be able to create your SQL query right from here. So inside this folder, I'm gonna create a file called todos.sql. And this todos.sql gonna do all the query about the to-dos. So finally, you can create a SQL file for each of your kind of models. So here I'm gonna say, and the way that works, finally I forget to say that, it's you do a comment, and how you do a comment is by doing 2-. You say name, and now here I'm gonna say get all to-dos. So here that's going to be the name of the function in Golang I want. After that, here I need to say what I want to return. If I say one, that's going to return only one to do. But if I say many, that's going to return us a slice. Now here I can say select all from to-dos. That's it. So finally, this query is going to be create, and this job of this query is going to be to get just everything from the table to-dos. That's it. And now, because we did add inside a make file the Sqlc generate, now we can call that by doing make Sqlc. And now, if you see Sqlc generate, looks like everything is working. And now you're gonna see they're gonna create 3 files. One of them is gonna be called model.go, and model.go, as you see, it's the model created from the database. So they have looked at your database. So the one we have right there, and they've looked at the thing you have inside that, and they figure out that your ID, because you did use big int, is going to be equal to int64. The name now is going to become a string, and the complete, because the complete, if you look back at your migration, can have a default false and it's nullable. Finally, now they give you back, a null, a SQL null boolean. because we did say in the Sqlc YAML emit JSON tag to be true, they've created this JSON tag right there. So we're gonna use those, it's gonna be easier for us. After that, they have created a to-do Sql.go. So the to-do Sql.go is the code generated by Sqlc when from your query. We just have one query. So the one query we did call finally is this one, all to do. And as you can see, they did select the ID name incomplete because that was everything from this table. And they use the name we give in the command get all to do. And now, get all to do, just take the context and gonna return you back a to do slice or an error. As you can see, this code is what you will have create if you will have done the plain SQL. You will have need to get the rows. After that, to make sure you defer the rows after your error. After that, you will have initialize a slice of to-dos. You will have look over each of the rows finally. You will have create your row. You will have scan each of the item finally. And you will have append to your item, checking your error and everything. And after that, you will have return everything. So you see, they just give you back 35, not 35, but like 20 lines of code just for this query. So it's really awesome. And after that, they have created a file called db.go. This one don't gonna change a lot, but his job finally is just to give you the abstraction over the SQL package, so the database SQL package, finally where they give you the new. So the function new, it's the important one. The function new finally gonna give you back as struct queries who take the DB. So finally, the thing you need to pass to the new, it's a connection database. After you have your connection database inside the query, this is where you're gonna have after that access to everything you need. You're gonna see that in a moment. It's pretty simple to use. So now the thing I want to do, it's for me, I don't want to use this DB directly. So what I like to do, I like to create a file inside the repo called repo, inside the Postgres called repo. And this is where finally I'm gonna create a type repo struct. And inside that, this is where I'm gonna put the queries. And here, this is how you can in Go finally composite your struct. So finally, you're gonna kind of inject all the function from the queries inside your struct right there. And inside that, I want also to have a connection to my DB, who's gonna be equal to a SQL.db. Now after that here, I'm gonna create a constructor from this repo. So I'm gonna say generate constructor. I want to pass only the database. So I'm gonna pass this DB. I don't like the uppercase in this case. I'm gonna say DB. And this job of the repo is gonna be to create here a new repo pointer. And for the queries, this is where you're gonna call new. And new here just need to take the DB, because the new here want to have an interface who accept the exact context, prepare context, query context, and query row context, and the SQL database. SQL database do have that. If you follow the DB SQL database, they follow finally the interface ask for the new. So it's pretty nice. After that, how you can connect that. So if we go to the main.go, here where we did where we have our function main, this is finally where we're gonna connect to the database and pass this DB stuff. So the way that's gonna work, it's gonna be like that. So I'm gonna do, before that, I'm gonna say DB error is gonna be equal to SQL.open. And here I need to pass the driver. So I'm gonna say Postgres. And after that here I need to pass the data source name. For the data source name, that take a string. So we're gonna construct that with the FMT printf. And inside this case, we're gonna say DB name equal print %s, because we're gonna pass a string. Password equal to %s. After that, we're gonna pass user equal to %s. After that, we're gonna pass SL cell mode equal disable. And now we just need to pass the element we do want. So in the case of the DB name, it's fiber to-dos dev. Become pretty messy, I know that, just because my font is really, really big. So after that here, we want to pass the password. So in my case, it's Postgres. After that, the user is going to be Postgres. And you know what? I'm going to just do this right from here. So Postgres. And now in this case, we can just pass the DB name. After that, I'm going to check for the error. So if we have an error, in this case, I'm going to panic and pass the error. I really want my DB to connect. And after that, I have access to this DB. Now I want to create finally this repo. I'm going to say repo equal Postgres, that new repo, and I'm going to pass this DB. And now this is where I'm going to manage now my database. Oh, I'm going to manage that. So what we're going to use, it's what we call dependency injection finally. Or I mean, I'm not quite sure in Go how they call that, but finally we just want to pass the dependency all around our API stuff. And the way that's going to work to make it easier, it's we're going to create a struct here at the top called handlers. And this struct handlers here is going to have a repo who's going to be equal to this Postgres.repo. I'm going to create a constructor for that. And now here I'm going to create my handler right there. So handler equal new handler, and I'm going to pass my repo. Now what I'm going to do is, you see all this route with this get to do, create to do, get to do, and everything. Now they all gonna extend this, they all gonna came from this struct. So if we go to get to do's, now this is gonna be a method from the h.handlers. And what this thing's gonna do now, if we go here and fix, I'm gonna say for this function here now, what I'm gonna do, it's I'm gonna pass the handlers. Setup API 1 now gonna receive here handlers to be a type of handlers. I'm gonna pass it there. I know it's not the best, don't worry, you can change it and do it much better. It just in this case we do the this way. And now handler is gonna be a type of handler. Okay, now it's fixed. And now this get to do handlers, now we want to return the to do. So how can we do that? It's pretty simple. We can say to do's. And in this case, I'm gonna say t. It's because the to-do it's a global variable. Okay, we've done that here, and I don't want to break all the code before we run it. So I'm gonna say in this case tts for to-dos. I know it's really bad, but and now I can say h that repo, and from my repo now I'm gonna have access to get all repo. And now I need to have a context. And now inside the fiber context, we have access to a context. And this context is the same context asked by get all to do. And now I can check for the error. If we have an error, we can return status fiber HTTP server error. HTTP server error. Maybe send. I know it's not the best thing, but we're gonna send the error. We're gonna return. Else we're gonna return the TTS. Here I'm gonna check for the error because I forget. So what I can do to make it easier, it's doing something like that. If we have another error here, I'm gonna do like this. Perfect. So now, okay. Now if we go back to the top, we get handler cannot use type pointer handlers to, sorry about that, that was a pointer type. Here it's a pointer type also, sorry about that. And now here, no new variable on left, replace with equal, because the error now is created here at the top. Perfect. So now I can start the server. Now we get this error, all no driver Postgres. Now what happened, it's we forget to, finally, not really forget, but the Sql package here, when they start, they need to, I don't know if I'm gonna find it, but they need to check at which driver you're gonna use. So they don't have the driver, like the Sql package, it's kind of like generic, like they can use MySQL, SQLite and everything like that. And you need to tell them like which one you use. And I don't gonna find it, and it looks like I have a low memory, so I'm gonna stop to looking at the code. But the way that works finally is you need to say, hey, I want to use Postgres. You want to pass the Postgres. And for that, what you can do, it's in getup.com leakpq. Now I'm gonna sync the leakpq to my project, so you can just do go get getup.com leakpq. And now I don't gonna use nothing from them. So because I don't want to use nothing, I'm gonna just put the underscore, because if I don't do that, Go gonna delete this import. And the ID is the leakpq. It's gonna have an init method. I'm not quite sure where I can show you, but they're gonna have an init method where they're gonna finally go with the SQL package here and say, hey, use our driver. So now if I restart the project, and now I go back to Postman and I do a GET request, now this is what we got. We get walk the dog and buy shoes. So two things we get from the database. But I think it's we get those JSON, complete bool false valid true and bool false valid true. Okay. So the issue is because if you remember in the model, we return a SQL null bool. In a SQL null bool, we return a boolean and a valid. Valid is true if bool is not null. So finally, it's a way for you to check if null, because the thing is null, it's also falsy. So the way we can deal with that finally, and the way I want it, it's now inside my Sqlc, I'm gonna emit JSON to be false. I don't want to deal with this thing anymore. And now what I'm gonna do here, is I'm gonna create a function called map to-dos. Each job is gonna be here to receive a to-do, who's gonna be it's gonna be a type of Postgres to-do. And this thing's gonna return an empty interface because I don't really care about the type. And his job here is gonna be to return an inline struct, where here I want to return the ID as an int64. In the JSON, I want to return ID. After that, I'm gonna return a name, a string, JSON name, complete, a bool, JSON complete. And now here I can fill the element. So in this case, it's gonna be to-do.id, to-do.name, and finally to-do.complete.bool. That's it. And if you don't like to do this way of naming, you can do like that, and it's the same exact thing. So map to do, his job here is gonna be my function, who's gonna be about creating the response to the end user from the JSON stuff. So now, when I receive my to-do right there, not here, but in my main.go. I mean main.go, where's the stuff? Okay, get to-dos. It's right there. When I return the TTS, now I need to look over each of them. So I'm gonna create here a new slice. And I'm gonna call that, that's the thing, the naming now is getting really bad, but that's gonna be fixed when we're gonna remove those global variable. And if I remember, we can even, no, yeah, we can't. So I'm gonna call that interfaces, is really bad, I know. It's gonna be a size of empty interface. And here now, Finally, I'm gonna range over the TTS, or the to-dos. Here we're gonna have the index, and here I'm gonna receive a to-do. Plus here, just think about that. Sorry, I forget to do this. We can make it much better by saying, hey, make a size on interface, and for the length, just use the length of the TTS, because that's gonna be the same exact length. So we don't need to have more to take more memories. So now for the TTS interface at this index is gonna be equal to map to do. That's it. And now this is what we return. And you know what? I just figure out a name. As you can see, I do this live with you. So result and result. I'm gonna restart the project. I'm gonna go back to Postman. I'm gonna run, and now you see it looks much better. So now if I go to Postico and I change it to be true, and I go back to Postman and I click send, now you see I get true and false. As you can see, the order is bad, but you know what? You just go to your SQL and you can just say order by ID. Example, you rerun your make Sqlc, you rerun your server, we should have no change because the order by ID don't take any argument. And now if I send, boom, it always gonna stay like that. It's equal. So now how can we create a to-do? So for that, we're gonna say name, create to-do, and this thing is gonna only return one to-do because you create just one finally. And the way that works, it's pretty simple. It's equal. So insert into to-dos. I want to insert name, and I don't care about complete because by default I want always that to be false, because why you will add a to-do if it's already complete. And for the values, you just put like a $1 returning everything. This is what I want to do because I want to return 1. So value 1. And now if I run the Sqlc generate, what's gonna happen is this one is gonna become an argument we can pass. So now if you go back to your to-do SQL, now they've created a new function called create to-do. And now the create to-do take the context as the other one, but also take a name, a type string. And this thing's gonna return a to-do and or an error. And as you can see, they do all the job for you. So now you go back to your main.go, you find where you did create the to-do. You're gonna wrap that as a method to a pointer handlers. And now, the way you're gonna create the to-do, you remember we did that right there last time. So now, what you can do, it's remove this logic and just do to-do error is gonna be from h.repo.create to-do. You pass it the context from fiber. For the name, you pass it from the body.name, who it's from this right there, who it's the body parser stuff. If you have an error is not nil, you can finally send a ctx status fiber that I don't know. In this case, we're gonna still send that. You should work with those error. It's really bad, I know. Error, we don't care in this tutorial. And finally, we have back the to-do, but we don't want to return the to-do. We want to return a map of the to-do, like that. And now here, I'm gonna just make back the return error, best practice, like that. And now if you rerun, I think we're gonna have an error. You get undefined create to do. Because the create to do now came from the end logs. I'm gonna rerun. Perfect. Now I'm gonna go to Postman. I'm gonna go to the body. As you remember, if we send, remember it's a post. If you send nothing, we should get cannot parse JSON, because where that fail right now is this place. We get a fail on the body parser, so I'm returning a bad request with cannot parse JSON, so that just told the end user that the JSON is bad. So now if I send an empty object, we get ID name complete because we don't do any kind of validation. So now if you look to your database, you see we get name and everything with nothing. I'm gonna say, I don't know, like walk the cat. I know I did say that last time. So now you can do some check whatever and doing like if len that name it's smaller or equal of 2, just do back this error and you say name not long enough, something like that. You save. I know it's bad, but for this tutorial, now if I send back that name not long enough, perfect. Now I can pass a name, sorry, name walk the fish, you know. So perfect, and now it's saved to the database. That's perfect. The complete, it's false because remember it's plain SQL or migration. We did say default false. That's it. Now I would like to be able to get one to do by ID, because right now if I say to do 1, we get walk the dog, but the to do 2 it's walk the cat, but in real world it's boy shoes. The issue is because we still use the global to do's right there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to get to do. We're gonna add that to H handler. And now we didn't create the query yet, so go back to your query. I'm pretty sure now you're getting better. Get to do by ID. That's gonna be returning only 1, and now that's gonna be select everything from to do's where ID equal $1 limit 1. We don't want to return more than 1. Go back to your terminal, make Sqlc. This create a to do SQL query called get to do by ID. They know the ID is going to be int64 because the ID is a big serial, so they do this. It's pretty simple. Go back to you get to do. You don't need to do any more this bad logic stuff we did in the last one. To do error, you do h.repo.get to do by ID. You pass your context from fiber. You pass the ID you did create from the ATOE, but the issue is the ID is only an int. So what you can do is wrap that inside an int64 to create an int64. After that, you check for the error. If you have any kind of error, I don't know, like if you have any kind of error, just return like error that error. In this case, really, okay. And else we have the to do. So now we can do cdx. What the heck? Okay. Yeah. So if we have an error, we can return that. Else ctx at status fiber okay that JSON map to do, and now you do your error. And if we have an error, ctx status fiber server internal error, send error that error. Perfect. Refresh your screen. We're gonna have another error. Get to do it's not defined because now it came from the handler. Restart your project. Go back to Postman. Now if I go to the 2, boy shoes, perfect. So if I go to 3, walk the cat, perfect. And now if I go to something who don't exist, 99, we get status 404. That's perfect. So now delete to do and update to do. So it's plain SQL. So again, you start, you go back to your query, delete to do by ID. And now in this case, I don't want to return nothing. So I'm gonna go with exec. And now here, we're gonna finally delete the element. To do that, it's delete from to do's where ID equal $1. That's it. So now go back to terminal, make Sqlc. They're gonna generate. Go back So that's the thing, okay? Always make sure after you generate, you always go back. That's the thing with generate code. Sometimes bad thing can happen when you create new thing. Maybe something is gonna be not like what you think. So go and look. So delete to do, delete from to do, delete to do. We're gonna just exit. As you can see, gonna just exit. Don't gonna do nothing else than returning an error. Now you go back to your main.go. Now you go back to delete to do. This thing now gonna take the H handler. And now you go back here. Now you check for the error. Because the error variable is already created, we can just do it like that. Now you say repo delete by ID. We pass the context. And now remember, we need to do the ID in 64. If we have an error, must be because it's not fun. Else, if everything is working, we're gonna send status. Sorry, also here that should be send status. Fiber.no content. That's it. We're gonna restart the project. We're gonna have an error undefined delete to do. Go to this line because it don't came from the handler. Restart your server. And now in PostSql, I want to delete walk.cat because it make no sense. I'm gonna go back here, do the delete, and go with number 3. Now we get 204 no content. If I refresh PostSql, number 3 is now delete. If I go there and I delete 99, we get no content, but it should delete nothing. We just get no error. So that's a thing to check. But yeah, it's something to check. Also, one of the things I think it will be better in this case. Sorry about that. Will be to do. Sorry, sorry. I never worked with this 20 font size, so it's really big. You see here, I delete. One thing I think will be much more better is to get the to do first and see if the to do exists. So you should do something more like that. You get first the to do if the to do exists, but we don't want it, and something like that. And now you can run this code. So you're gonna make sure finally then he exists. So now if I send 99, now we get 404. But if I want to delete walk the fish, who don't make any sense also, it's 4, 204, and it's delete. That's perfect. And now the last one is the update. So in the update, we're gonna say name, update to do, and I'm gonna want to return 1 finally. And now what I'm gonna do, gonna be update. Here you pass your table, and now here you say the set, like which value you can update. So we can update the name. After that, we can also, sorry, I think I make a mistake. One set, name like that. After that, we can update the complete to be equal to the second one. And don't forget your where, because if you don't, that's gonna update everything. So that's gonna be number 3. And I think I like more the ID number 3, the complete number 2, and the name number, the name number 2, complete number 3. Perfect. Go back to your terminal, make Sqlc. Now we get an error. We thought, okay, yeah, returning everything. Sorry. Perfect. Go back to your Sqlc query. Now we should have an update. Update to do. So they create this to do params. As you can see, take an ID, a name, and a complete. So you see, they decide then now we have 3 argument. It's become bigger, so why not create a struct? It's easier and to work with. So now go back to your main, go to your update to do, who must be somewhere right there, H handler right there. I'm gonna say to do error h.repo.update to do context. First argument is the ID, so that's gonna be the ID. Again, it's an int. We want to int 64. No, it's not. Sorry about that. It's a Postgres dot update to do params. Gonna fill all fill. So for the ID is gonna be now in64 ID. The name is gonna be equal to body.name. And for the complete, now that's the thing. I know it's not the best thing. For the valid, we're gonna say true. And for the boolean, finally, for the boolean here, that's gonna be body.complete as the value. And I know it's the best thing. You can fix it and make it much more better. For the valid, it's what I mean by that is because this thing can become nullable, so you can check if it's valid. So you can do something like a body complete is not nil, something like that, so you can see if it's valid. So now I'm gonna just remove all of those. Check for the error. Sorry if I have a lot of issue with the code here. The code first was not created to show you this, so send status, I don't know, like not fun. And I'm gonna return else map to do, and I'm gonna return with the error. And I'm gonna cctx send status fiber that internal server error that send, not send status, sorry, status send error that error. Start a server. I'm gonna have an error. Update to do don't exist. Go to update to do. You add that. You go back there. You save. And now make sure you check. So boy choose. Perfect. So we're gonna say boy choose. So I'm gonna put back walk the dog to be false. Perfect. Just to make sure it works, I'm gonna do a get request. You see walk the dog is false and boy choose. So now I'm gonna say have walk the dog. So I think it's a patch. Huh? I think we did a patch request. Yeah, it's a patch request. So patch request. I want to update the one, and I'm gonna say complete to be now true. So now if I run, invalid address of nil dereference. Okay. So now what happened? So as you can see, we have an error, and the error came from, I think it's coming from this case. So what happened here? Let me check. Really think it's because of like I think it's coming from this case. Okay, so what you can do in this case, it's I'm gonna add a debugger. I'm gonna run that in debug mode. It's live code, so sorry about that. I have some mistake. Gonna run, and now the body, its name, it's a pointer. Okay, so I think this is here the issue. Okay, it's because the name need to be passed. So what you can do in this case, I think I've done that in a bad way. It's first thing I will get the to do. I'm gonna copy this code. You should create a helper. Get the to do first. After that, you should do what we've done before. So if body.name it's not nil, I'm gonna say to do that name equal the value of body not name. Okay. So now here when I'm gonna pass the name is gonna be already a string. Now I can do equal, and for the null bool I think we can go with just that. So now I'm gonna save back and rerun the code, and now if I run it, now it works, and now complete is true. So you see we've debugged that together. So now if I want, because I don't know, I've done a mistake, it's supposed to be false. Perfect. So now I'm gonna do something to test. I'm gonna do set to true, and I'm gonna put name to be walk the fish. And now we get back another error. And now I think is this issue right there. So what happened is this thing, it's nil. So we should go with the same ID. So if body that complete it's not nil, we should do to do that complete equal a SQL null bool. Okay. And for the bool, now we know it's not nil finally. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say first it's valid. We know it's not nil. And for the bool, it's gonna be equal to now the dereference right there, the value. And now you can change that to be to do that complete. That's it. Now you rerun your code. And now if I send, we get walk the fish and complete stay true. So if you understand what was the issue, it's when I did that to the pointer of the boolean with nil, we did send nil, and that was the issue. So that's the way you can do this. And it's better to do this to do get to do by ID, because you will update only if you can find this to do, plus doing this to do get request with authorization. You're gonna see if the user can update the to do. So I know the code is not all best practice, but you have a better idea. So now I'm gonna delete this to do slice, and I'm gonna even delete this to do struct. We don't need that. I'm gonna rerun the code to see if something is breaking. Perfect, nothing is break, but now because I have the to-dos, delete, I'm gonna change here to be to-dos. It's gonna make more sense. I'm gonna save, gonna go back to Postman, gonna do a get request to get all the to-dos, and I'll get walk the fish and buy the shoes. So it sounds good. So I'm gonna push the code in a repo, and I'm gonna put the link in the description. I hope you enjoy. I really love Sqlc. As you can see, I don't have the best experience yet, but I just find like we missed some tutorial online, so I think it's pretty nice. In other tutorial I've used GoPG. I think now I will just use Sqlc, because that's the thing, I like doing my SQL. When I do my SQL, I feel I have the full control, and I don't want to have issue where I'm fighting against kind of like a ORM-ish where I'm looking for some function. So this is the thing to check. If I will, if you want to do something like more complicated than what you can do with Sqlc, sometime I'm gonna just use the plain SQL package, because now we have the database connection. Because remember, if we go with the repo, inside the repo, we have access to the DB, so I can use that to make myself my own kind of query. And I'm gonna use something like a Sqrl, who it's a way for you to do a query builder. If you want to help you, like example, you have some stuff you want to add only if some params it's add from the user. So this is one of the package I will have used. If you have question about the join and stuff like that, I'm planning right now a video series about doing like a full stack application with Next.js and Golang for the API with Fiber surely. And we're gonna have the join with Sqlc. The way the join work is it's they flat the structure. So what's gonna happen, it's example, if you have a to-do and a user, and you want to get the to-dos and you join the user to get all the information about the user, that's all gonna be flat. So they're gonna return you a struct. We're gonna have maybe like the name complete from the to-do and the ID, but after that they're gonna have the user ID, the username, and everything. Also, it's gonna be flat. So your job, that's why like I show you the map to do, you're gonna receive here the value example flat, and after that you're gonna just do something like maybe creating like a struct user right there, something like that. So this is the thing. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know in the comment if you have any kind of question. I'm sorry for all the mistake I've done. But yeah, it's that's the beauty of live coding. So I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna talk in the next one. Bye everyone.